Today we are going to discuss anther and microsporogenesis. Myself, Dr. P.K. Singh, Government Girls College, Jaspur. The stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower, which is composed of anther and filament. And in stamen, anther is the fertile part of the stamen, and filament is the non-fertile part of the stamen. Depending on the attachment of the filament to the anther, there may be following kinds of stamens, and that may vary in different plant species and family. Number one, that is basifixed, that is filament is attached with the base of the anther. Second one, that is dorsifixed. In dorsifixed stamen, filament is attached to the dorsal face of the anther. Adnate, that is filament is present throughout the length of the anther. And fourth one, that is versatile, the anthers are not in fixed position, that is move on the filament. These are the figures of these four types of stamens based on the cohesion of filament to the anther lobe. The figure from the left to right, the first one is basifixed, in which filament is attached to the base of the anther lobe. The second figure is showing the adnate condition, in which the filament is present throughout the length of the anther lobe. Third one, that is dorsifixed, the filament is attached on the dorsal side of the anther lobe. And fourth one, towards the right side, that is versatile, and the anther lobes are moving on the filament. Now, androecium is a term which is applied for all the stamens of a flower. All the stamens of a flower collectively named as androecium. Anther is the fertile part of the stamen in which microspores are born inside the microsporangium. Typically, an anther is a bilobed or diathecous structure. That is, generally the anther is bilobed, and in each lobe there are two microsporangia. There are two lobes, and in each lobe there are two microsporangia. That's why in general anther is tetrasporangiate, while monothecous and bisporangiate anther are also there. For example, in the members of Malvaceae, for example Hibiscus rosa sinensis, the anther is monothecous or unicelled, and in the anther lobe there are two microsporangia. That is, bisporangiate anther is there in members of family Malvaceae. And there is one plant named Arceuthobium, which is known as smallest angiospermic parasite, in which there is monosporangiate anther. That is, there is a single microsporangium inside the anther. Now, we are going to discuss about the anther wall. The anther wall can be differentiated into following layers from periphery towards center. That is, as we move from outer side towards the center of the microsporangium or anther, these layers are seen. Number one, that is known as outermost boundary layer or epidermis. With the increase in the size of the microsporangium, the epidermal cells divide anticlinally to accommodate the increasing size of the microsporangium. Actually, initially, when the development of anther starts or initiates, it it is a homogeneous mass of cells and which is bounded by a single layered epidermis. With the differentiation of archisporium and further development of the microsporangia inside the anther, there is anticlinal division takes place in the epidermis, and to accommodate the increasing size of the microsporangia. Now the second layer, that is endothecium. This is present following the epidermis. The endothecium is also single layered and it is made up of radially elongated cells which are rich in alpha cellulose. And these cells attain their maximum development when pollen grains are at full maturity and anther is about to dehisce. Actually, this endothecium, this is hygroscopic in nature and this helps in uh, dispersal of microspores when they becomes mature. The endothecium is dual in origin, either it originates from the parietal layer or from the connective tissues. The third, that is middle layers. Following endothecium, 2 to 3 layered middle layers are present. The cells of middle layer are ephemeral, that is short-lived. Now fourth, that is tapetum. Tapetum is the last layer of the anther wall and is nutritive in function. Tapetum provides nutrition to the developing microspores and is at full maturity when the microspores are at the tetrad stage. Based on its origin and function, tapetum is of two types. Number one, that is amoeboid or periplasmodial tapetum. This type of tapetum is characterized by the early breakdown of the tapetal cells. Here, the protoplast masses come in the anther cavity and unite to form periplasmodium. These plasmodial masses surround the microspore mother cells before the meiotic division is to take place. With the disintegration of the wall, the protoplast becomes irregular in shape. That's why this tapetum is known as amoeboid or periplasmodial tapetum, and this surrounds the microspore mother cell and provides nutrition to the microspores. The second type of tapetum is that is secretory or glandular tapetum. Here, unlike amoeboid tapetum, tapetal cells do not disintegrate and contribute materials by secretion. That's why this is known as secretory or glandular tapetum. Here, in the cytoplasm of the tapetum, pro-ubious bodies are present. And after the deposition of sporopollenin, these pro-ubious bodies change into ubious bodies. And the ubious bodies help in the formation of exine patterns of the pollen grains. This is the internal structure of a tetrasporangiate anther. And here the structures, the wall layers are clearly visible as there is a single layered epidermis. Following epidermis, single layered endothecium is present, then middle layers are present. In between the two anther lobes, connective is present, and connective is the sterile part of the anther. Tapetum is the last layer of the anther wall and is nutritive in function. Now, development of microsporangium and microsporogenesis. Microsporogenesis is the formation or production of microspores inside the microsporangium. The typical anther is bilobed with two microsporangia in each lobe, that is tetrasporangiate anther. Initially, the anther is a homogeneous mass of cells, that is, all the cells are alike with the outer boundary layer, that is epidermis. The cells inner to epidermis behave as archisporial cells. The archisporial cells divide by periclinal division. Periclinal division means the division which is at parallel to periphery. The archisporial cells divide by periclinal division to form outer primary parietal layer and inner primary sporogenous cells. The periclinal division results formation of wall layers, that is, there is increase in number of wall layers, while anticlinal division results in the increase in number of cells in a layer. So here the periclinal division of the archisporial cells results in the formation of an outer primary parietal layer and an inner primary sporogenous cells. Now the primary parietal cells divide both periclinally and anticlinally to form single layered endothecium, 2 to 3 layered middle layers, and the innermost nutritive layer, tapetum. And this tapetum is providing nutrition to the developing microspores. The primary sporogenous cells either directly behave as spore mother cells or may divide to form secondary spore mother cells. Now, these secondary spore mother cells behave as microspore mother cells. The microspore mother cells are diploid and divide by meiotic division to produce 4 microspores. From one microspore mother cell, by the meiotic division, there is formation of 4 microspores, that is, microspore tetrads are formed. This figure is showing the stages in the development of microsporangium. Figure A is representing the homogeneous mass of cells which is bounded by epidermis, and now the undifferentiated archisporial this undifferentiated parenchymatous cells results into the archisporial cells inside the epidermis, and the archisporial cells divide by periclinal division to form outer primary parietal layer and inner primary sporogenous layers. The primary parietal layers again divide by periclinal division, and by 3 subsequent divisions there is formation of 4 layers. The outermost parietal layer forms the endothecium, and next to endothecium there is formation of 2 to 3 layered middle layers, and the last layer of the last parietal layer forms the nutritive tissue, that is tapetum. And primary sporogenous cells, they divide again to form secondary sporogenous cells. These secondary sporogenous cells, they may divide in certain cases or they behave as microspore mother cells. Now these microspore mother cells which are diploid, they divide by meiotic division and produce haploid microspores. There are 2 possibilities in the process of cytokinesis. It may be either successive type or simultaneous type. In successive type of division, after the meiosis first, 2 haploid nuclei are formed, and after meiosis first, wall formation takes place, resulting in dyad. After the formation of diad, now meiosis second takes place, and which results in the formation of microspore tetrads. That is, here the wall formation takes place after the meiosis first, and meiosis second takes place after the formation of wall layer, that is formation of diad. This kind of tetrad formation, this kind of division is common in monocotyledons. This figure is representing the successive type of division. Figure A is representing the microspore mother cell. The figure B and C, they are representing the meiosis first up to D, and there is wall formation, and after the meiosis first, diad formation takes place, and meiosis second takes place after the formation of diad. The second kind of division, that is simultaneous type, here wall formation, that is cytokinesis, takes place after the completion of meiosis. That is, when both meiosis first and second takes place, 4 haploid nuclei are formed, and then wall formation takes place. Here the wall formation takes place as 4 peripheral constrictions and gradually extends from periphery towards center. Ultimately 4 haploid spores, that is spore tetrad, are formed. The 4 microspores formed from the microspore mother cell are initially present in a common envelope and are designated as microspore tetrads. The microspores are named as microspores till they are in tetrad, but when these microspores are released from the tetrad, they are named as pollen grains. This is the basic difference between the microspore and pollen grain. When the microspores are in tetrads, that is all the 4 microspores formed after the meiotic division in microspore mother cell, they are named as microspores till they are in tetrads, but when they are released from the tetrad, they become separated, they are named as pollen grains. The arrangement of tetrad may be of different types depending on the type of plant species. This may be number 1, that is linear tetrad. Here microspores are arranged linearly. T-shaped tetrad, that is microspores are arranged in T-shaped manner. Isobilateral tetrad, that is microspores are arranged in isobilateral manner. Tetrahedral tetrad, that is microspores are arranged in tetrahedral manner. This figure clearly indicates, clearly represents the different kinds of tetrads. Figure A is representing tetrahedral tetrad. Figure B is representing isobilateral tetrad. C is representing decussate. D is representing T-shaped tetrad, and E is representing linear tetrad. In some plants, microspores do not separate from the tetrads even at maturity. Such groups are called compound pollen grains. In Asclepiadaceae and Orchidaceae, all the pollens of an anther sac form a compact mass known as pollinium.